Before, we had everything we needed here. We were very self-sufficient. We had grocery stores, we had schools, we had family members, we had homes. When the floodwaters came in on August 29, 2005, all of that changed. And our lives and everybody we knew changed with it. When we talk, it's always our lives before and after the flood.
In a small room at the back of the Greater Little Zion Missionary Baptist Church in New Orleans' Lower Ninth Ward, Warrenetta Banks and a group of colleagues worked diligently at their computers. Their organization, the Lower Ninth Ward Center for Sustainable Engagement and Development, was formed after Hurricane Katrina with a mission to return residents to the neighborhood and help rebuild their homes, churches, and schools.
Most of us were born and raised here. Our parents were raised here, so there's a lot of generations of families that lived here before. We roughly have less than 6,000 residents that are back in the community, and that is part of new residents moving in and also returning residents like myself.
Key to the success of their efforts would be the mass influxes of volunteer groups that came to the city willing to lend a hand.
Resilient residents say we're going to come back. We're going to come back to our homes. And we're going to rebuild. We have the help of wonderful volunteers that continue to come down and say, hey, we haven't forgotten about you. We want to help you rebuild.
As strategic plans for the rebuilding of the Lower Ninth were developed, ideas of green building and sustainability were discussed.
You know, I remember coming back when there was no lights and water, and I mean, people were, we had very first donation for this organization was solar panels. Like, what the heck am I doing with a solar panel? My house has to be gutted out and all these things. But I'm glad that others around the country did reach out, because now we do have one of the most sustainable communities in the country.
More and more residents returned to the Lower Ninth, and slowly but surely they started their lives again. But as a community bordered by water on three sides, the looming presence of a failed levee system made them uneasy.
Well, the floodwater actually came down the Mr. Go, into the Industrial Canal, through here, straight up under the bridge, into here, when it straight to the locks. This is the locks that goes into the Mississippi River. There's a gate here, there's a gate here. When that water got to the locks, the water was stopped. When it got to the locks, hit the locks, come back into the Industrial Canal, which is this is the wider part. It kept flexing this weak part of the levee, flexing it and flexing it. The water went up under the steel and washed the soil out. And then the weight of the water in that spot folded the steel over. It was laying in the street flat. And the beach was here.
Making matters worse was the ongoing wetlands crisis that was leaving the city and the surrounding areas more vulnerable every day. Residents began to learn about the importance of wetlands as a buffer for storm surge. An area of wetlands on the neighborhood's northern border became a hotspot for discussion and community education.
Well, this is the end of the central wetland system. This part here is the part that ends in the Lower Ninth Ward. But this wetland here has always been here since I was a kid. But when the salt water came in, all the freshwater species left, all the lilies died out, it became open water.
When the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers constructed the Mississippi River Gulf Outlet in the 1960s, it brought an influx of salt water from the Gulf of Mexico that would decimate 60,000 acres of wetlands in the Lower Ninth Ward and the neighboring St. Bernard Parish. A plea for restoration of these wetlands quickly became part of the master plan to make the Ninth Ward a more sustainable community.
50 years from now, I hope these wetlands look like what the community wants them to look like and what the community's vision is for them, which is to bring it back to what the folks that have lived here for many generations experienced. That would be a thriving cypress swamp, a place where people can come from New Orleans that come to visit, or people that live here in the neighborhood, and to be able to experience nature and experience the grandness that this once was.
As the 7th year anniversary of Hurricane Katrina approaches, there are many advances in the recovery to be celebrated, but still much work that needs to be done. And for the Lower Ninth's chances of surviving as a coastal community inside the city limits, Much of that will depend on restoration efforts and how the residents can lobby to have them completed.
Wetlands in bad shape is a problem to them. If they're, if they are put back the way nature intends them to be, they would do the job that nature intends it to do, is to protect you against surges of water and winds. So if it's restored into the condition it needs to be, you'd have another beautiful wetlands that anybody in the city could catch a bus to come see. They can see all these wild animals, all the birds and stuff. But if the wetlands are not fixed, they're not restored, the same category storm hit in the same place, the same thing gonna happen.